somewhere on Earth right now, a descendant of a fearsome predator is asleep on a pillow, snoring, paid for by a human. That same species used to hunt in packs and viewed humans as a light snack. So somewhere between run for your life and who's a good boy, something enormous happened. And it wasn't just dogs. Humans eventually tamed goats, cows, cats, horses, even camels. Which raises an actual, serious scientific question. How do you convince a wild animal to trust you? Spoiler, mostly, you don't. It happens to you. Today, the strange, slow, accidental story of how ancient people tamed wild animals. Grab a snack. Preferably not one your ancestors had to wrestle first. Today, dogs have their own social media accounts with more followers than most humans. There are heated beds, specialty bakeries, and birthday parties for animals that used to just eat garbage. Cats, who barely tolerate us, somehow run the entire internet. Horses get therapists, actual professional horse therapists. We built an entire economy around animals we used to be terrified of. Pet insurance is now a real industry. Ancient humans did not have pet insurance. They had spears. So how did we go from that animal might kill me to that animal has a wardrobe? The honest answer involves thousands of years, a lot of guesswork, and possibly some very brave garbage. Yes. Garbage may be the real hero of this story. We'll get to that. First, let's clear up a common misconception. Most people imagine a caveman walking up to a wolf and just deciding to be friends. That is almost certainly not what happened. Real domestication is less brave handshake and more nobody ran away fast enough. Scientists think it may have started with wolves who were just slightly less afraid of people than other wolves. Those bold wolves hung around human camps at a safe distance, eating scraps and bones. The braver, calmer wolves got more food. The jumpy, aggressive ones got chased off with rocks. Generation after generation, the calmer wolves had more calm puppies. Nobody was breeding them on purpose. It just kept happening. In other words, wolves may have basically domesticated themselves. Humans just left the snacks out. We get the credit. They did most of the work. It's less humans conquered nature and more nature filled out a very slow job application. So when exactly did this slow application get approved? Let's look at the oldest evidence. In Germany, archaeologists found a grave over 14,000 years old. Inside, 2 humans. And curled up next to them, a dog. Not a wolf, a dog. Someone buried a pet on purpose. This is the oldest solid proof we have of humans and dogs being genuinely close. But here's the twist. The actual taming probably started way earlier than that grave. Some researchers point to wolf-like skulls over 30,000 years old that look suspiciously doggy. Other researchers disagree completely, loudly, in academic journals. So the honest timeline is somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years ago, which is a wide guess. Imagine telling your boss your project is done sometime between 15 and 40,000 years from now. That's basically what paleontologists are working with. Genetically, all dogs today trace back to grey wolves, every single one. Yes, including the tiny ones that fit in a purse. A chihuahua is, biologically speaking, a wolf that gave up. Scientists even recreated part of this process by accident, breeding foxes for tameness in a famous experiment. Within a few generations, the calm foxes started getting floppy ears and curly tails, just like dogs. Nobody bred them for floppy ears. Tameness just dragged cuteness along with it, like an unwanted +1. So the same accidental process may have shaped the first dogs, tens of thousands of years earlier. Tameness came first. Cuteness was just a side effect. In evolutionary terms, being chill was the ultimate life hack. And once dogs were in, the door was suddenly open for everyone else. Here's the annoying part. A wolf skeleton and an early dog skeleton look almost identical. The differences are tiny. Slightly shorter snout, slightly more crowded teeth. That's basically it. So archaeologists are out here debating dog or wolf based on millimeters. There's no ancient paperwork, no caveman signed an adoption certificate. DNA helps, but old DNA is fragile and falls apart faster than most modern resolutions. So every few years, a new study pushes the first dog date backward or forward again. It's less a fixed historical fact and more an ongoing argument with occasional bones thrown in. There's also no single moment we can point to and say, that's it, that's when it happened. Domestication wasn't an event. It was a very, very long, very slow drift. Imagine trying to pinpoint the exact day water turned into ice on a lake. You can't. It's a process. Domestication is the same kind of blurry, which is frustrating if you want a clean answer, and honestly, kind of beautiful if you don't. Anyway, dogs came first. Everything else came after, in waves, all over the planet. Let's take a world tour of animals that got roped into this, starting in the mountains. In the Zagros Mountains, around 10,000 years ago, people started keeping wild goats close. Not for fun. Wild goats were a walking, bleating insurance policy against a bad hunting season. Keep a herd close, and you don't need to gamble on finding food every single day. Sheep followed a similar path, prized for meat first, wool later. Somewhere, a very ancient person put on the first wool sweater and had no idea they'd started a whole industry. Goats and sheep meant one thing: food on legs that didn't run away overnight. Cattle came from aurochs, enormous wild cows that were, frankly, terrifying. Aurochs stood taller than a person and had a documented habit of not backing down from fights. Taming that animal was less here boy and more a multi-generation act of extreme patience. It happened at least twice, independently, in the Middle East and in South Asia. Today's mellow dairy cow is descended from an animal that could probably have flipped a car. Somehow we ended up with milk cartons instead of casualties. Pigs got tamed independently in multiple places, partly because pigs are, honestly, easy. They'll eat almost anything, including whatever humans didn't finish. So pigs basically volunteered themselves as the original food waste disposal system. Less taming, more mutually beneficial trash arrangement. It worked out. There are now more domestic pigs on Earth than wild boars ever dreamed of. Cats are the odd ones out. Nobody really tamed cats. Cats showed up and decided to stay. Around 10,000 years ago, humans started storing grain. Grain attracted mice. Mice attracted cats. Humans didn't invite the cats. The cats just noticed free mice and set up shop. A 9,000-year-old grave on Cyprus holds a human and a cat buried together on purpose. Genetically, house cats are still almost identical to wild cats. They just decided we were tolerable. Cats are the only animal on this list that arguably tamed us and set the terms. On the grasslands of Central Asia, around 5,500 years ago, people started riding horses. This is not a small development. This is the ancient version of inventing the car. Suddenly, people could travel farther, trade faster, and outrun almost anything, including bad news. It also changed warfare completely, which is a nicer way of saying it made fighting much worse. One tamed animal, and entire empires start moving differently. Not bad for an animal that started out as lunch. Chickens came from wild jungle birds in Southeast Asia, and honestly, took their time getting popular. Newer research suggests widespread chicken keeping is younger than people assumed, tied to the spread of rice farming. Today, there are more chickens on Earth than any other bird, tame or wild, combined. A shy jungle bird became the most numerous bird on the planet by being, of all things, delicious. Not exactly the legacy that birds signed up for. In the Arabian Peninsula, people tamed camels for crossing deserts that would kill almost anything else. A camel can go days without water, which is either impressive biology or excellent budgeting. Trade routes across brutal deserts only worked because one animal agreed to suffer through it. The camel didn't get stock options. It got a saddle and a very long walk. High in the Andes Mountains, people tamed llamas and alpacas for carrying loads and growing wool. At that altitude, a pack animal that doesn't need much oxygen is basically a miracle. Alpaca wool is now sold in fancy boutiques for prices their ancestors never imagined. The alpaca's ancient job was survival gear. Its modern job is looking great on a sweater tag. In the far north of Siberia, people tamed reindeer far more recently, only a couple thousand years ago. In brutal cold, a reindeer isn't just transportation, it's food, clothing, and a heater with legs. Every one of these animals got tamed for a slightly different, very practical reason. So why go through all this trouble? Why not just keep hunting? Hunting is a gamble. Some days you find food, some days you find nothing and go home hungry. A herd of tame animals nearby is a gamble you've basically rigged in your favour. It also meant renewable resources. Milk, eggs and wool don't require killing the animal first. That's a genuinely huge upgrade. Meat once, milk every single day. Tame animals also worked. Oxen pulled ploughs, horses pulled carts. Nobody's back thanked them enough. Dogs, meanwhile, guarded camps and barked at anything suspicious, including the wind. That is, frankly, still their entire job description today. There was also plain old companionship. Life was hard. A warm animal by the fire probably helped. And, unsurprisingly, status. Owning rare or impressive animals was an early flex. Some things never change. We just swapped horses for sports cars. In short, taming animals meant more food, more work done, more safety, and honestly, more bragging rights. It wasn't one single brilliant idea. It was thousands of small, practical decisions stacking up. Nobody woke up one morning and invented the farm. It happened in slow motion, over centuries. And once it started, there was no going back. Humanity had officially chosen a side: convenience. Which brings us to today, where the convenience has gotten a little out of hand. Modern farming raises tens of billions of animals a year, on a scale no ancient herder could imagine. The global pet industry alone is worth more money than some entire countries. There are dog spas, dog yoga, and dog birthday cakes shaped like bones, for animals that don't know what a birthday is. Meanwhile, working animals never stopped working. Police dogs, guide dogs, search and rescue dogs. Horses still work farms and racetracks. Sheepdogs still herd actual sheep. Even cats still hunt mice, which is basically the exact same job they had 10,000 years ago. Genetically, every dog is still mostly wolf, whether it's a wolfhound or a teacup breed that fits in a mug. The wolf never fully left. It just got smaller, fluffier, and significantly more dramatic. We've even started gene editing and selectively breeding animals for traits ancient people never dreamed of. Hairless cats, miniature everything, cows bred to produce absurd quantities of milk. Ancient people bred animals for survival. We now sometimes breed them for social media engagement. It's the same process that started 15,000 years ago, just with worse priorities. Somewhere, an aurochs and a wild wolf are rolling in their evolutionary graves. Still, the core deal hasn't changed much. We take care of them, they make life better. Here's the twist nobody expects. Taming animals changed humans just as much as it changed them. Living with herds meant settling down. Settling down meant villages. Villages meant, eventually, everything else. Some human populations even evolved the ability to digest milk as adults, purely because we started drinking so much of it. An animal changed our biology. Let that sink in for a second. So, really, who tamed whom is a genuinely fair question. The wolves got food security, protection, and warm real estate by the fire. Humans got hunting partners, workers, and eventually, an entire economy of squeaky toys. Honestly, calling it domestication might undersell it. It was more like a very long, very slow negotiation. One that started around a campfire and somehow ended with a dog wearing a raincoat. Not a bad deal, honestly, for two species who started out just trying not to get eaten.